Buenos dias a todos. Estamos acá para mais um encontro, mais um webinar da WorldSkills América. Hoje temos a honra de receber a senhora Dita Traidas, presidente da WorldSkills Europe, que irá compartilhar a sua experiência com todos nós das Américas. Eu antecipadamente agradeço a contribuição para com esse webinar e o tema colocado, Skills Competition, What Impact We Are Looking For Globally, Regionally or Nationally. Eu penso que é muito importante para nós das Américas que estamos construindo este processo para melhorar a performance da formação profissional dos nossos jovens. Mr. Dita, thank you very much for your contribution. The floor is yours, please.
Okay, hello, dear colleagues, colleagues in Skills Movement. Well, I apologize that you need to hear me in translation because I know 2 foreign languages, but unfortunately nor Spanish nor Portugal is one of those. So I hope you will catch my speaking and my spirit, which I put in this presentation, even if it is translated. I have a real pleasure to be invited by Roberto to share with you my views from different point of positions I'm actually taking, because yes, my daily work is managing a governmental agency, which is for the development of education in our country, meaning that I'm in charge of managing and administrating a very huge amounts of national funds and European funds, which goes for improvement in Latvia's education and science. So that is one part of me. Another part of me is, of course, WorldSkills Europe president position, which I'm taking already 4th year. So actually soon my first term ends. And lastly, but the same important as my first position is I have created Skills Latvia organization in Latvia 10 years ago. And since 2010, when we participated in Lisbon in WorldSkills 2010, yes, then we are managing in my agency also the National Skills Organization. And forgive me that maybe you will not hear everything what you probably expect, but this time for me is very, very hectic. I'm happy that I manage really to be with you today. But as you probably know, the WorldSkills competition in Graz this year approaches in 3 weeks. And from both positions as Skills Latvia manager and WorldSkills Europe president, the time is very, very busy. But I'm really very happy that I can share with you that very, very important aspect now, which we practically all of us are engaged with. And that is why actually we are doing skills competitions. Well, that is a costly activity. We know that both nationally and when we participate internationally, that costs some money. And sometimes, and time after time, we are of course asked by our governments. In Latvia's case, we are financed by government, and therefore that's governmental question all the time. So what impact all this movement gives to our economy, and not only to our economy, but where it places certain country in international scenery. So I decided a little bit to talk with you from 3 different levels. That is, first it will be European level, then probably a little bit more global level, and then back to national level of Skills Latvia, because I believe that those problems which we are trying to cope with and to challenge are very, very similar, I think, to the most of the world in VET systems. So from WorldSkills Europe point of view, there are some emphases which are actually installed in our constitution, because WorldSkills Europe is a legal entity established in 2007. And of course, different level organizations put different things as the main drives for this skills competition movement. And that is interesting that they are slightly different. From WorldSkills Europe point of view, of course, one of the most driving ideas is it is an interaction tool between vocational education and industry. Well, we in Europe are a little bit VET system. We call in here it VET system, vocational education and training system, VET. VET system is divided scenarios in Europe. And I'm not so familiar how it works in your continents. But in Europe, part of the countries has a so-called school-based VET system, and part of countries has a industry-based system and company-based system, we can say. That means that those are totally different systems, but still we are in European Union together. And actually, of course, we are driven by the same VET education policy, despite whichever system we have in our countries. And actually, both systems are really targeted at this one very important aspect, interaction between education and industry. If we look at WorldSkills International driving motto and vision, then it says that this organization stands for increasing the prestige of blue-collar occupations and harmonizing best practices and professional standards around the world. Well, that is a little bit different agenda, and that is, of course, the highest point for somebody's goal. And it is very appropriate, of course, for the organization where 85 countries are joined together. And they are joined indeed by this objective, increase the prestige. Well, we didn't invent that target or objective, but we totally agree to that. Although nationally we have a little bit different agenda, and for that we will talk a little bit later. But nevertheless, as we are really operating in different levels, in national, in regional, and in global, then of course these agendas may change. And here we are joined by the aim of increasing the prestige and best practices, and the most important, the professional standards. And the purpose of the organization operationally, of course, is to show by WorldSkills competitions how important the professional skills are. Again, for the economic growth, but also for the individual careers and personal success. I have to mention in your webinar here, the thing which most of you probably as official delegates know, because we just a few days ago, we heard the presentation of WorldSkills International Strategic Development Committee debate, where it was announced that WorldSkills International is going to now to really put much more and more operational effort on evaluating the impact of these skills contests or competitions, and how that relates to the economic development, labor market, and government activities. That will be the project lasting for 6 years. So all the member countries which we are joined under WorldSkills International umbrella will be invited to share the information about their national data, about their national agendas, national targets and objectives. And then there will be researchers who will be analyzing and synthesizing this all together to find out what actually globally the skills competition makes to the global economy. Well, that is very, very challenging task, but I think it comes exactly in time because our life is changing, even our skills competitions are changing. And our youngsters are changing even faster as we others do. And that means that actually it is time to really to make some view and some helicopter view on what actually is going on, how national members live with this activity and how that contributes to the agenda which we just discussed around professional standard raising and harmonizing best practices. If we look at WorldSkills Europe as a regional organization viewpoint, then in Constitution stands a little bit different words again. It says that that is a movement for promoting excellence in the field of skills. Yes, we in Europe are quite similarly advancing and developing our VET systems. And of course, under an umbrella of European Union, we know about our progress and achievements and plans and agendas. We are very, very informed about that. And therefore, putting all that together and knowing that every country has its VET policy and every country is busy with developing this VET system for decades, actually, then the aim for WorldSkills Europe must be a little bit different, and it talks about excellence. Yeah, because excellence is the thing which we put as the first thing in our objective in WorldSkills Europe. An ultimate goal, of course, is to learn from each other about how skills are developing, how to promote them, how to, of course, share practices and exchange practices, and altogether how to shape the occupational standards needed for European continent to compete in global economy. You most probably know that Europe is long time already is fighting with its place in global economy. And the plans which were announced for us 20 years ago, and I can speak about that because I work in my position 26 years and I work with European Commission 26 years. So these plans being a flagman or advancement of global economy, of course, is a little bit far from reality. And nevertheless, still this idea that European region must be very competitive in global economy, it stands, of course, still. Just as you know, different regions and countries are maybe driven by the same objective, but the ways how they do it differs much. So personally, I see that we as European region are quite lagging behind because there are regions and countries which run faster than we, definitely, and you know all that as well. And still that will remain in our agenda all the time, that we have to keep that place as a region, and the skills development is a very, very crucial point in that, because actually the whole global economy, of course, depends on the power of skills and manpower as such. Yes, from 31 member country, which we are in WorldSkills Europe, 23 of them are European Union member states. But then there are Iceland, Liechtenstein, Norway, which are so-called European Economic Area, which is very much linked to European Union policy as well. And then there are 5 other members who flourish our club or our family with their particular political agendas and VET system objectives. Yeah, that is how we look on map. And now a little bit about, there was a few years, actually 2 years ago, there was a survey we did among WorldSkills Europe members to find out at least answers on some fundamental questions. That is, of course, not solid analysis nor fundamental research which we did, but it was like to understand the main things, the main points, because it will help for us probably to create in the future some more decent analysis and impact analysis. But the question was, what you as the national skills organizations actually, what are you doing in your daily life? Apart from competitions, which is, of course, every member does a national skills competition. We here see 100% of them. Not everybody are participating in regional skills competitions. And that depends really, of course, from different circumstances, either financial or as this year it's pandemic consequences. We are 31 member, but in Graz we will be participating only 21, because some governments already last year announced that their teams won't be going anywhere outside their national country. Still, 21 countries doing that. I'm so proud that we keep this WorldSkills movement live, even in these hard times. And then the other part of activities mostly lies with skills promotion events, which are not necessarily only competitions, but that you probably recognize. Conferences, yes. And here comes one interesting point. We don't know yet, actually, and that is really deserves some deeper research, how actually national skills organizations impact VET programs or VET curriculum development. We don't know that, but as you see, almost 70% says they do. We don't know yet how, but I will tell you how we do that in Latvia. And yes, there is a junior skills or youth skills. That is a growing tendency in Europe about these junior skills. And that lies very deep into the whole education policy scenery, because actually the career guidance and orientation to professional and technical education, of course, demands much earlier orientation as it would be at the last grades of basic education. So that is why junior skills dealing with people from 9 to 14 years gets into the picture. And I'm happy that we are beginners in Latvia in that, but next year we will be organizing junior skills as well. So here was a question now, why do you take part in international competitions? What is your view? Why do you do that? Because apart from organizing national skills competitions, you need, I think, well, judging from Latvia's budget, I can tell that to make one national skills competition here in Riga, for participating in WorldSkills or EuroSkills, we need much more money, together with membership fees and on all what gets around it. So, and then the answers are, VET promotion and VET development. So, of course, being together in one venue and seeing how these external experts has been elaborated and designed the tasks and test projects for our competitions, seeing what new standards come into particular branch, of course, that anonymously would anyone would think that must bring back an impact to the VET development in the national country itself. VET promotion, of course, by bringing their delegations, that's obvious. Benchmarking is very important thing, because we know, I'm not sure, and I apologize, I don't know what are the occupational standards which you use in your national competitions, but in Latvia we use WorldSkills International occupational standards. Our experts are developing test projects, but still, of course, they have to fit to these occupational standards, even if the test project is not that complicated as it could be in WorldSkills Europe competition or in WorldSkills International competition. But that is that benchmarking aspect which really helps you to compare, actually, does your VET learners really can fulfill and work out the test project? How much the occupational standard is matching your vocational education and training standards? So that is important part. The last question was, well, I don't see this now. That was the opinion of our members. Why I cannot see this because I don't see the title of it. Can you help me? What is the title here?
Hi there. Why organizing and taking part in national competitions?
Ah, thank you. Thank you so much.
No problem.
Yeah. So we get clear about that comparison and seeing how we match international arenas. Of course, there is a question, okay, and why do you do national competitions? You probably easier would just talk with your schools and training institutions and bring them WorldSkills International occupational standards and say, this is what you have to teach to our youngsters. No, but for national competitions, and here I really can speak very much from myself also, is the main thing, and that was surprising that it was for all WorldSkills Europe members, that was the main answer for VET promotion. Okay, not for the developing curricula on standards or whatsoever, but VET promotion. Why? Because in Europe, we are really hit by very scarce lack of labor, qualified and skilled labor workforce. I'm suspicious that that's not only European problem, but we are still missing the decent amount of youngsters who finish their basic education and do not choose vocational education and training path. Well, in different countries, there are different figures. I know that in Switzerland, for instance, that is not a problem at all, because almost 70% of secondary education leavers, graduates, are choosing VET path. But if we look at Latvia and many Eastern European countries, then the percentage is among 35 to 40%. And of course, our labor market stakeholders and representing institutions has told that's far too little. We cannot really run our economy if your youngsters don't choose this educational pathway in much greater proportion. Well, in Latvia, we have the National Education Plan, which has said that by year 2020, which is already a past, we had to reach division between these graduates 50 to 50%. 50 goes to gymnasiums, 50 to vocational training institutions. Where we actually are, we are 38%. So that means that prestige of vocational and technical education still in Europe, in the majority of its part, is not enough. And therefore, these national competitions basically are the shows where we invite our general school pupils, our municipalities, our teachers, our parents, that they see how does the professions look nowadays in reality. And for that purpose, at least many governments in Europe really is not saving money and pleasantly granting these and supporting these national organizations for competitions, because that predominantly is thought that it will help for this VET promotion. Well, VET development is, well, that's obvious. Awareness that goes together with promotion, benchmarking, and yeah, for some countries actually in Europe, skills competitions nationally are part of the school program. And here I can mention Finland, where actually, this is interesting. In Finland, in their national skills competitions, they don't use international occupational standards, which others probably do, and maybe you also. But they actually test in these national competitions what is taught in their schools. So this is always seemed very interesting for me, that actually they do the snapshot of how well pupils or students obtained what they were taught in their technical schools. Well, yeah, we may have such an objective for national competitions also. Yeah, a little bit about, again, European policy. You know that in Europe we are living, we calculate our time from one VET development plan to another VET development plan by these declarations. And the last, the most important 3 declarations, which are setting the overall policy and strategy also for VET development, are Copenhagen, Riga, and Osnabrück. Well, Copenhagen is a little bit too early in the past, because that was year 2002, but Riga was 2016. We were hosting this big event of all European education ministers summit, where this declaration was signed. And that took place during Latvia as being European presidency in European Council. And Osnabrück. Osnabrück is the last and most recent, signed last year, which sets the overall picture for the VET development for Europeans for the next, till next declaration, I have to say. So what it says, and the most important thing is in that declaration, that at that policy level, which is designed for 27 European Union members, that skills competitions become an integral part of this policy. Well, I don't want to really be selfish and say why it appeared there, but in some extent, I admit I put my hands to this also, because already 3 years ago, I started a discussion with European Commission about that their the most popular program called Erasmus+ addresses skills competitions also. So I persuaded and convinced my minister to speak with other European ministers about this skills competitions in that policy level. So finally, last year, this wording, skills competitions, appeared in that level policy document. And it says that this declaration aims also to support the preparation and participation of national teams to WorldSkills competitions. They can't speak about WorldSkills International, surely, to raise the attractiveness and image of VET. Again, here you see what is the main agenda, and promote VET excellence in Europe, and to achieve champion status in global WorldSkills competitions. Finally, WorldSkills also. So that was signed in 2020 by all the ministers. The whole declaration can be found on internet. And actually, we are very happy that this now makes the basis for our national governments to citate that, to take awareness of that, and to install that in national policy documents, which actually is the reality. So, but actually, what is the difference between these 2016 and 2020, between these two declarations? Well, we know what happened during these years, and most probably those are not our best memories from the last year. But still, if to compare how politically VET developments are seen, then we see that Riga Declaration actually were kind of summarizing all the things we know in vocational and training system. That it must be about quality assurance, about key competencies, about continuing vocational education and training in lifelong learning perspective. It shall be, the policy should be about training of teachers and trainers and so on and so far. But actually it says that all these measures made a basis for that what we changed to. So it actually gave perspective which was unknown in 2016, but which actually came as reality in 2020. Because the Osnabrück Declaration says that actually, as these systems are really dealing with emerging uncertainties and new political agendas like digitalization, Green Europe, innovation, inclusion, and so on and so forth, then actually all what we did during these 4 years is a good start for that we can achieve our VET systems being more digital, dealing with unpredictable sustainability, with unpredictable conditions, that they can build a sustainable developments for enriching our curriculums with innovation and green aspects, that it builds a basis for building excellence in our VET systems, and not least, in very big extent, the internationalization. Well, VET system in internationalization become actually very, very new trend. And well, we'll see how we will deal with that. But I'm happy to say that this document, Erasmus program for 21 to 27, actually promotes for internationalization worldwide for Europe in very great extent. Well, here are those words which I was actually fighting for last 3 years with the European Commission, that national, regional, and industry-specific skills competitions have to be promoted and supported financially by this program. So this wording, so it even gave a definition of what it all is about. So it is definitions that Erasmus program supports skills competitions which are understood as international sectoral events, which demonstrates VET learners' skills, promotes them, recognize them, and exchange of experience, know-how, and technological innovations. Here I want to make one sidestep and say that the total novelty of this program is that vocational education and training support from year 21 became global. And that means that also that's European program, and also all the previous decades, it was supporting higher education, mobility, exchange, innovation, partnerships worldwide. Then it never did yet for VET. So now this program says we open also VET support measures, being not only concentrating geographically on European Union, but also going, we say, going wild. And where to? I would suggest that actually for this Erasmus program, deeper understanding and deeper seeing how your continent, your organizations can become part of that, for that we need a separate meeting or seminar or whatsoever in probably, I don't know, in Lyon or in Shanghai, but it is worth really to know much more about that, but I can't go in details now. I'll just tell two things. The whole Erasmus contains two kinds of activities, mobility and partnerships. Well, mobility is obvious. That is sending somebody, receiving somebody by giving him international experience, either in Europe or somewhere else. For global perspective, this program now allows to finance Europeans going anywhere, being those experts or trainees or apprentices or vet learners or teachers, whomever. If that helps for other continents or other WorldSkills regional organizations, then yes, you can use European expertise because this program finances it. Of course, there are much more details about that. You have to step in partnership with some country and so on and so forth, but that is in main lines. But the second thing, which is strategic partnerships, which is best practices exchange, innovation exchange, innovation building, and which can really be in whichever theme. It can talk about curriculums, it can talk about scenarios, collaboration with labor market and industry partners. It can talk about catalyzing attractiveness and prestige. Well, the whole picture is there, but partnership programs, any country in the world can be a partner of European country in that project. And then in 2 or 3 years project, really to plan together activities where these practices, exchanges, knowledge, know-how, intellectual resources are put together. So that is another thing which really doesn't limit other countries outside European Union to be part of these strategic partnership projects. Well, a little bit about national scenery, about skills competitions. Yes, let's talk about a little bit about Latvia situation. Of course, it is very important for us that skills competitions doesn't remain as just agenda and business of the National Skills Organization and technicums and schools which are giving us those vet learners with whom we create the competition team and then send them around the world. No, we need that these things must somehow interlink with our vocational education and training policy, because if it's there, then actually, of course, as being very dependent from the governmental financing in our case, and as I told, in quite many European countries also, we have to see how that really contributes to the governmental policies. Here I put 3 things which are, it's a question because three items I put, those are references from our education policy document, which says that the main aim for vocational education system for next 7 years, it is increasing the quality of programs of primary vocational education. That is mean from after 9th grade, from 9th to 12th grade, because after 9th grade, after 8th grade, our vet learners can be students in vet programs or in gymnasiums. So we call it primary, but that, I mean, it's primary not as educational level, because education level that is secondary, but primary lies initial, let's say initial vocational education. That is first block of vocational education where our youngsters enter after 8th grade of basic education. So quality of programs, well, that you can really wish for, I think, for decades, and that process never stops because industry has its own progress and developments, and schools basically are trying to catch industry with their programs, and which never is matching the time. We always are a little bit behind. But still, as working for education sector for very long years, I can tell that it is still very important, although these curriculums are not most updated, because we simply cannot manage that, because to change the curriculum, we have to change the standards, and then we can adjust the programs. That takes a year time. So we always will be behind industry. But it is very important what actually in school, in formal education system, is taught to our wet learner. And if the basis is very, very good, and giving all these core skills, soft skills as well, like thinking, analyzing, team working, decision making, analyzing things, if foreign language, of course, IT, of course, and also those things, if you give even in this level of education a very good package of core skills together with the professional skills, then still this youngster is competitive in the labor market, although of course he is not that well prepared as those countries who has apprenticeship systems and company-based systems where youngster starts his vet education in company and comes to school only for 1/3 of his school education time. We have found out that we also Latvia is a school-based system. We can compete quite well in Europe, with those countries where the system is totally different. Again, prestige and attractiveness of vocational education. Yeah, the more students are attracted to this pathway, the better we can support our industry, of course. And modular programs, that is a novelty in our education systems, that actually we have found out that those very strict and framed curriculums is not working very well. We have to dispatch or share the whole curriculum in small parts, we'll call it modules, where the programs get much more flexible and the person can be more movable and mobile between the same branch but different specialties. Well, this is probably very specific item of our education system, but I can tell you, as my agency is engaged also in creating adult training system in my country, I see that this modular program approach helps very much for adult training, because we take employed adults who are not very well matching at these days, because they finished their schooling 20, 30 and 40 years ago, that the fastest and easiest way to upgrade them to the today's technological demands in their branch where they are employed is with these small parts of modules, which are up to date because they are small parts and there is no much formality work to really to create them. So this is our saving bell for really making programs more flexible, more update, even if the whole standard is not changing and the whole frame is not changing. So as we had these three national policy items, so we were looking at how actually these national competitions are contributing to these policy aims. Because if they are not contributing, then we can stop our activity here. They have to. And when every next year, when the government awards certain money for these purposes, for instance, to our agency, of course, I have to somehow show how it increases the prestige of vocational education institutions, and not so much about now education system, because it is much more easier, of course, to measure it with vocational education institutions. They every year, of course, see the figures, how many enrollment they can take up and how many are willing to enter their institutions. And that is a very good indicator. Actually, does really what they show in national competition is appealing to those general education pupils who are at the doorstep of choosing their further next education pathway, being general or technical. So by these enrollment figures, we see very well what's happening. Of course, we have to prove also and make some evidence that curriculums are changing because of these competitions. As I told you, we do national competitions with international standards. Therefore, of course, experts who has to design the test projects, teachers who has to provide their pupils for that competitions has to look at those standards. They have to check whether they at all can send their student in a way that brings back this impact and influence to the curriculums which they are teaching in their schools. Because in Latvia, curriculum has a standard frame which is decided and fixed by law, but internally school has quite a big flexibility what exactly in that curriculum standard you are doing and teaching. Therefore, every technicum actually can see the results of these competitions, of these standards used, occupational standards used, and then see how they, oh, time is going to the end. I have to hurry up. Yeah, collaboration with industry experts, that is very, very important. And actually, that is the thing which I always have to report. Okay, how good you collaborated, how much they really were participating, and so on and so forth. And promote vocational education in society as conscious choice for career directions. So all these things we have after national competitions to somehow demonstrate to our government that it is worth still doing. This I will have to shorten. Of course, as evaluating impact, we have just recently, some few weeks ago, shared between WorldSkills International members the United Kingdom research, which is very professional research, which tried to measure with the econometric methods actually what is economically the impact of the skills movement in Great Britain towards financial indicators in economy. And here I will probably run through. So what they were measuring was a cost benefit regarding return of investment. So how much money government gives for the skills competitions nationally, and what is the calculated impact to the return of investment and public value. So it was done for the period of 18 to 20. And here I just skip and go to the final. Here are the aspects which actually they were putting for measurement as the impact aspects for this economy. This is very much learning for somebody who wants to do something alike in your national country. But the conclusions was that they said that return of investment actually from skills competitions are 2.4 to 4.5 times bigger as public funding benefit per pound. Well, this is very, very impressive. Well, me being economist, I can tell that these, of course, are assumptional figures. because with econometric methods you can fix the situation, and if the situation, like external environment, isn't changing, then you can fix that in certain figure. The minute external environment changes a little bit, those figure may change very much, to up or to down. But anyway, this assessment and this analysis shows that it is possible to measure first, and second, figures may be quite impressive. Well, I have to, well, this I probably will skip, because we are doing nationally very many things with sectoral expert councils, with work-based learning. We do a lot with the career development, and all that is in a way is all the time is supporting and influencing our skills competitions. And I'm just happy that so many different activities are supported by our government and European Union money, really to impress and to influence the VET system at all their segments, in order that the result is the desired. And well, all these actions which are I'm showing here, let's say revision of financing of VET programs, that is again one of the aspects how we try to change our VET system to better, because of course government is financing VET programs by certain indicators and certain figures, and then of course during the decades and looking towards the plans we have to reach, it was obvious that the financing approach has to be changed. And here you see that we are increasing the minimum costs, which were set as a base cost. Then we are approaching ways which were not very popular in recent past, that VET institutions can ask for so-called development money, I call it so, that if they have some particular initiative which together with local governments and stakeholders see as a benefiting their functionality and operation and their growth, then they can apply for separate financing. And then that is important, because all the time previously it was only our ministry which was financing it. So now it was the law opens the door. No, you can use other financing as well. Sectoral experts, yes, that is our bridge between sectors, because in Latvia it was very, very difficult to really encourage industry to talk with schools, because it wasn't a tradition. It is not very, very comfortable for industry, because they don't see really an immediate outcome from that. They have to invest many, but they cannot get immediate outcome from that. So we already, I think it was 5 years ago when we established these councils, which have to, and they are very powerful now, and they are by law given so many duties and tasks now. I wonder that they really do it, because if they do all what is assigned to them, then we don't worry. Do we have a school-based system or company-based system? The result can be the same, because they are assigned to determine the standards, to determine the qualification exam requirements, to approve the curriculum, not curriculum, but training programs, to approve the practical training program, and to take them in their training practices in companies. I mean, if they are in all these processes involved, then actually there is no difference which system you're running, because you are so much of duality you have installed in your system that really reaches the targets you are heading to. Yeah, here is a slide about what they have to do. They do one industry better, another a little bit less, because we are very much, as in every country, dependent how well actually is organized a particular sector, professional organization. Work-based learning, work-based learning is our answer to European policy that it has to have more duality, being more like Germanic countries' systems, because that is very much interaction with companies and industry. So our answer to that policy is we can't change so drastically our system, but we can install work-based learning components in it. So now, by law, 25% of that program must be implemented in enterprise, excluding qualification praxis. So that is our step towards this better preparation of our VET learners, even for skills competitions. Because, well, I'm pretty realistic when I see all these competitions in the last 10 years, that school-based system, VET learners are not that fast and productive as a company-based students and apprentices, because they have much more component of practical training as we do in school system. That's why we are increasing that proportion. But indeed, when I have to really to speak to our teams, I'm saying, you shall know your biggest disadvantage is tempo. You simply are not that fast as Swiss competitor, as Japanese competitor, Chinese competitor, Russian competitor, Portuguese competitor, and whichever else. You are not that fast, and that is a problem of your practical training not being sufficient. Yes, and now we have special national program to increase number of VET students who are enrolling this work-based learning. Career guidance. Well, actually, this is I have to confess that our government and Europe is much more better taking as an objective of financing national skills competitions and international also, because of totally different aspects. Not prestige, not so much of VET curriculums or whatsoever, but of career guidance. Because as I said previously, we in the global region in Europe, we are missing people wanting to study technical occupations. We simply are missing them. So career guidance is now the flag we have to follow, all of us. Well, this you all know. That actually the benefit of participation in international contests, competitions, and arguments for financing it is, of course, assess how much competitive is your country vocational education system. And here I again have to confess, I will finish in a minute. Here I have to confess that I know a very different approaches how countries are preparing their competition teams. And that they are specially trained people in many countries, that they are taken out from their institutions and set exactly for training practically on approximately those tasks, which most probably will be the test projects in competition. But we don't do that. We don't take our students out of school. We cannot even marginalize or limit their personal freedom, because these youngsters, we cannot tell them really. I think democracy has going that far in Europe that we can't actually force anybody to do anything. So we cannot say, darling, you are going to Graz in 3 years, well, we start 1 year before, in a year's time. So please put aside all your private interests and businesses. Now we will train you for competition. You know what he would say here? Then I don't go. So that is why actually for us, it is assessment of how well the VET system functions in our country, because we cannot add much. We can add last 8 months an extra training, but that's it. But if he doesn't have a basic technological, technical, specific skills, knowledge, and even terminology internationally, then we in 8 months we can't teach that. So the basement, the foundation of that youngster has to be well enough. With that, we are pretty fine, and we can really assess our rating where we are in Europe, and that helps. And then, of course, if you, from one hand, if you say you will go to Shanghai next year, maybe for somebody it is increase the motivation, but I can admit you, not for everybody. For somebody, yes, more ambitious youngsters, yes, but at the moment, I can tell I would wish for their ambition much more as it is at the moment. And yeah, industry experts, and that is most important. And I'm ending here. Well, you can't be in global picture by just seeing how your vet system does. You have to see how good and advanced are your experts also. So actually, that is our key message. We want that these experts see all these international global trends of industries, and that is perfect way where to get it, and that is WorldSkills competitions, that they bring it back, and through their expert councils, which are a part of our education system, they bring this knowledge back and say to our vet institutions, no, guys, this is old stuff, what you are teaching. I can tell you what it should be about. So the industry expert competitiveness and knowledge of global trends actually is the driving force for our international contests, because that is driving, but assessment of vet system is a result. So, and yeah, in 22nd of September, we go to Graz. I'm happy that Europe has taken up this challenge not to skip and not to give away to make it. So we all meet there. And yeah, that's all from my side. I'm sorry for the time. Thank you.
Okay, Paul, we have no question.
We do have one question, Professor. It just came in now, if I may.
Can you pass?
Yes, sure. This one comes from Mr. Byron Stuardo Ruano Leon. For the development of junior skills, does the VET system go to the primary schools, or is it the other way around? That's the question.
I'll try to answer if I understand the question right. Actually, I don't understand it very well, because what it means that we are taking pupils from the general education, from primary education, and even as they haven't been taught anything of VET, we will organize for them junior skills competition, which are simplified technical tasks, but in order to give them a chance to try out whether they are hands-oriented personality. That tradition actually is much more developed in Denmark and Netherlands, and actually we will be copying them in our national competition next year. But that is a objective to really to take those pupils which doesn't have any relation with VET, because they are in general education, in primary education, but to show them with small technical exciting tasks that working with hands and doing something practically is the same sympathetic as working with brain. So we want by that help, and that is considered as a career guidance and career development instrument, that we make them thinking about, it's nice to build something, to construct something, to do something with hands. And really here, I would suggest that even such kind of Erasmus Plus project, if you join it with partnership with Denmark or Netherlands, they are very good at it, and they really had made already for several years these shows for young pupils to do tasks which they never did actually in their schooling life.
Okay, Mrs. Dita, again, thank you very much for your very precise speech. And then we will take the permission to translate it to Spanish, your presentation, because this content will be very, very important for the WorldSkills America collect. Again,
it was a pleasure, Roberto. Thank you very much. It was a pleasure to talk, because every such presentation again refreshes some things in my head.
I would like to learn one topic more. In Spanish, in Portuguese, muito obrigado. In Spanish, gracias. In English, thank you very much. And your idiom, how I can take gracias.
So I can learn that quickly. Obrigado and gracias for you too.
But in
my language,
yes,
it's paldies. Paldies.
Baldias.
Baldias.
Baldias. Gracias. Thank you very much. All the best for you. Bye-bye.
Yes,
thank you for all participants in this special moment. Again, we will send the presentation in Spanish for all.
Thank
Gracias,
you.
Tida.
Thank you. Goodbye. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.